Greetings, Commander. This time we'll have a look at the key combat mechanics of the Strategic Mind series. Weather often has a great impact on the operation. The most common problem is rain, but there might be other adverse weather effects throughout the campaign. Rain applies a 33% penalty to all units' attack values, and provides a +1 bonus to camouflage. Some units can negate the rain penalties by learning the all-weather skill. In the bottom left corner of the screen, right above the minimap, there is the rain icon. If you hover over it, you'll see the hint explaining its effects. You can also see how it affects your troops by hovering over unit parameters in the unit info. Click with the middle mouse button on the bomber to open its unit info screen. The most important indicator for every unit is its strength. Both the unit's health and damage output depend on strength. The lower the strength, the less damage the unit will deal to the enemy. Moreover, strength is the unit's health indicator for land and aircraft units. Naval units have whole HP instead. If the strength reaches 0, the unit is destroyed or forced to retreat. Above the strength indicator, there is one more, damaged. It shows what part of the unit's strength was damaged and can still be restored. There are two types of damage, lethal and non-lethal. Lethal damage reduces the unit's strength, which means that these troops were killed in action. Non-lethal damage also reduces the unit's strength, but at the same time increases the number of damage. At the end of the turn, all damaged are automatically restored and become the unit's strength once again. Note that the unit has to be within the active supply zone to restore its strength. Close the unit info screen. Let us put that theory into practice. Select the bomber and attack the enemy infantry. Move away your bomber. Select the artillery unit and attack the enemy infantry. You may have noticed that the damage values are displayed as two numbers separated by a slash. The left numbers have a look at strength and damage indicators. Your bomber did 4/0 damage, meaning 4 lethal and 0 non-lethal, while your artillery did 1/4 damage, meaning 1 lethal and 4 non-lethal damage. You'll not give the opponent the much needed respite, right? Select the tank and attack the enemy infantry. Note that the enemy has 0 strength left, but the unit was not destroyed. This state is called suppression. Open the enemy infantry unit info screen. As you can see, even though the unit strength is 0, it still has damage value. That is why the unit still exists. The suppressed units try to get away from the opposing forces. Any further attack against the suppressed unit will force it to surrender or destroy it. The suppression lasts 1 turn. If the unit is within the active supply zone, its strength will be restored and suppression removed. Close the unit info screen. Select the Recon Unit and attack the suppressed enemy infantry unit. The suppressed enemy units surrender automatically if they are attacked in close combat. When you capture the enemy unit, you gain prestige proportional to its remaining damage count, as well as half of its remaining ammo and fuel. Recon units, as well as infantry with scout squad equipment, can gather the intelligence data upon capturing the enemy unit. Intelligence data makes all nearby enemy units identified, meaning you have full information about them. Click the enter button. As you can see, the enemy units outside your Recon unit spotting range are no longer identified. The thing is, the intelligence data effect lasts only 1 turn. Now let us talk about spotting. Select the Recon unit and send it to the designated hex. You have spotted the enemy. At this point, the enemy is considered unknown. You cannot say for sure what type of unit that is, but you already know its location. While the unit is unknown to you, it gets a solid boost to all its defense parameters. The closer a unit to the enemy, the more intel you gather. Bear in mind that city, mountain, and forest terrain types provide bonus to camouflage, making units in those hexes difficult to spot. Move the Recon closer to the enemy positions. Now the enemy unit became spotted. You know what type of unit this is, but do not have. Now you have finally fully identified the enemy unit. This means you have full information about it. It also no longer has any bonuses to defenses due to poor spotting. The Recon unit has the highest spotting range among all your units. Recon units are essential to locate and identify enemy units. Now that the enemy is identified, it is time to deal with it. The best way to start the storming of enemy positions is by preliminary bombardment. Select the artillery unit and attack the enemy. Some units, including the artillery, can provide fire support to the nearby units. That is why they should be dealt with as soon as possible. Select the bomber and attack the enemy artillery. Anti-aircraft guns pose a serious threat to your aircraft units due to their ability to overwatch planes entering their gun range. Upon being overwatched, aircraft loses the ability to move until the next turn. If the enemy, same as with fire support, to check whether the unit has the overwatch ability, you can open its unit info screen and look through its skill list. By default, any unit can overwatch only once per turn, and any attack against it will disable its overwatch ability for this turn. Yet there are skills that allow high-level units to overwatch more than once or increase range. Open the enemy anti-aircraft gun info screen. Note that the Overwatch Air skill is now crossed out. That means that the air unit will not be able to overwatch your units again this turn. Yet it can still offer fire support to the nearby unit or return fire if it comes under attack. Close unit info screen. Despite these highly unfortunate setbacks, you have enough forces to occupy the city. Select the tank and attack the enemy infantry. As you can see, this is not the best idea. Tanks are very vulnerable to infantry in close quarters. Battles on difficult terrain such as city, forest, or mountains, or against well-entrenched infantry units. While in close quarters, tanks lose 80% of their defense, becoming very vulnerable to infantry attacks. That is why you should not storm cities with tanks if you have not lowered the enemy strength first. When you attack, you should keep in mind that the enemy's return fire will happen before your unit's attack. Consequently, your unit's strength will already be lowered before they attack, causing it to deal less damage. There are other ways to lower a unit's combat readiness. Open the enemy infantry unit info screen. Hover over the soft defense parameter. Note that it has a previous attacks penalty. Each attack reduces the unit's attack and defense parameters by 1, up to a -4 total, making consequent attacks more effective. This effect does not apply to naval units, thus well-defended ground units should be attacked several times to wear them out and then finished off in the final assault. Close unit info screen. The enemy forces are wearing thin. Attack the enemy with your infantry. You should attack the enemy anti-aircraft guns. When you hover over the enemy unit, you can see the combat prediction at the top right corner of the screen. It explains in detail all bonuses and penalties applied to all units involved. It also have a look at the RDM line. This is a range defense modifier that is added to the target. Now let us once again hover over the enemy's anti-aircraft gun to see the combat. It is high time for the aerial bombardment of the enemy artillery. Select the bomber and attack it. All enemy units are weakened. Now is the perfect moment to use the tank's signature skill, Overrun. Select the tank and attack the enemy artillery, then occupy the hex where it was located. The Overrun ability allows tanks to move and attack again if their previous attack resulted in defeating the enemy unit. Take care of the enemy infantry and capture the hex. Now finish off the anti-aircraft gun. In one turn using the Overrun skill, you have defeated 3 enemy units and captured 3 infrastructure facilities. There is no limit to the number of overrun attacks. The only downside is that units do not receive additional experience after the first overrun activation. Click on the End Turn button. You surely notice the change in light. Every third turn the battle continues at night, which reduces the attack parameters of all units by 66%, and their spotting range by 50%, but not lower than 1. Without special equipment such as radars, or skills such as Night Hunter, your units will be unable to attack efficiently at night. On the upside, this is the perfect moment for covert troop redeployment and flanking maneuvers. In the bottom left corner of the screen, above the minimap, you can see the night icon. If you hover over it, you will see its effects. You can also see how it affects any individual unit in its unit info screen. During the storming of the enemy positions, your units took some losses. You should reinforce your troops before continuing the offensive. Select your most damaged tank that is at 7 strength. Click on the HQ skills button, then select Reinforcement. In the Reinforcement menu, you can restore your unit's strength. You can reinforce units only within the active service zone of your infrastructure. You can select how much of the unit's strength you want to reinforce. All damaged are reinforced for free if you decide to reinforce at least 1 lost strength. You have prepared your troops for the upcoming battles. The night is not the best time for combat or reconnaissance, so let us wait for the daytime. Click on the End Turn button. Let us have a closer look at the HQ skills. There are times when there are no recon unit close at hand, or you need to scout more locations. For such situations, you have the Aviation Recon HQ skill at your disposal. Click on the Command Points button at the top right corner of the screen. At the Unit Actions panel, select the Aviation Recon button and click with your left mouse button on the designated hex. Aviation Recon is an incredibly useful skill, but every usage spends a number of command points. Every turn you regain some command points. The more core units that are deployed for the operation, the lower will be your command points income. Moreover, command points cannot exceed their maximum. You'll get more command points as you progress in the campaign. Apart from enemy troops, Aviation Recon is located at the fort defending the city. It is a stationary defensive unit overwatching all soft targets entering its firing zone. Click on your tank unit to deselect it, then select the fort to see its firing zone marked with red skull icons. The best way to quickly deal with fort and other fortifications is to use flamethrowers. Open the infantry unit info screen, then open the equipment tab and acquire flamethrower for it. When there is a fort, you can expect to see minefields as well. Fortunately, your recon unit has sapper squad equipment, which allows locating and demining the minefields. Select the recon unit and scout the way by moving it in the designated hex. And here comes the minefield. The unit sends out the sapper squad with strength equal to the current unit strength. Sappers will be automatically attacked by enemy units if they enter the gun range. When sappers reach a minefield, they remove strength equal to the sapper squad current strength. Click on the minefield to demine it. It seems that the road is clear. It is time to take care of the enemy fort. Select the infantry with the flamethrower and attack the fort. Armed with flamethrower, infantry deals damage equal to its current strength to all types of fortifications. Fort defeated in close combat will be taken over by the attacker and will become his fort with 5 strength. Flamethrower is also effective against the enemy infantry hiding inside the buildings, providing +4 attack against it. It also reduces enemy entrenchment level by 2 before the attack. Now, what is the entrenchment level? Have a look at the enemy infantry occupying the supply point. There are sandbags piled up around it. It means that the unit has some level of entrenchment. If any land unit finishes a turn while still being able to move, it gains 1 level of entrenchment, which provides a +1 to all defense parameters. City hexes offer solid defense bonuses by themselves. If a city is occupied by well-entrenched infantry, your troops will have a tough time clearing it. First, however, we have to deal with the fighter plane covering the enemy infantry from aerial attacks. You have 2 fighter units of your own. You can engage in a frontal attack, but then your unit will come under the return fire first and suffer significant losses. Fortunately, fighters have certain skills that will come in handy. Select the fighter unit. On the unit actions panel, you can see an afterburner button. This active skill adds defense to your fighter, allowing you to minimize the damage from the return fire. Attack the enemy fighter. Great, it dealt a solid blow to the enemy. Repeat the attack with the second fighter. The enemy infantry is now left without the air cover. Select the bomber and attack it. Perfect. Now attack it with the second bomber. You can now finish it off with your tank and occupy the hex. Congratulations, the operation was a success. Click on the Finish Operation button to exit to the tutorial menu.